Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we have an amazing guest joining us, Peter Tilbrook, CEO at Loro. Hello, welcome to the podcast, Peter.
Hello, thanks very much for having me.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad at all. I mean, it's a time of year. You've got your Christmas jumper on, I see, and we're getting ready for a little bit of calm before, another end of a year, which is just amazing.
Yeah,
Time goes so fast.
we both live in England, so we both know that it's not like white and snowy. It's grey and just like most of the seasons of the year, but just colder, really.
It gets dark earlier. Yeah.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. It's so lovely to have you join us. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day because we know that you are busy. Now, for those people who don't know you or your company, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
Yeah. So we're Loro. We're technology for insurance companies, and we'll get into it, but specifically for the specialty insurance space, which everyone hears insurance and they're kind of, that sounds a bit of a dull conversation. But I can assure people that the specialty side of insurance is pretty interesting because we're dealing with large amounts of financial risk and some really interesting sectors of it, like the marine aviation kind of financial risk elements. There's some fascinating bits to get in. I've worked in the industry my whole career in insurance. So I met my co-founders working for an insurance company. And as most people probably say when they start a business, right, they're frustrated with some of the technological solutions in that area and maybe think somewhat arrogantly they can do things a little bit better. And that's what we're trying to do at Loro.
Insurance, was that something that you as a child would think, oh, do you know what, one day I would love to work in insurance? Or did you just happen to fall into it?
I never stopped dreaming about being in insurance as a child. Now, look, the truth is, particularly in the UK, in the US, and in other key kind of financial areas, insurance is an amazing career. I mean, you get to experience some wonderful things. I've been lucky to travel to over 30 countries as part of this career. I've worked in different ones. I've got to know some truly amazing people, and I've touched so many different other sectors of the economy that rely on insurance. So we joke about it a lot, especially within the industry, of the perception of it. But I can assure people it's quite a fascinating area to get into once you get into it.
And being
I
a
can
CEO,
see your skepticism, Barry.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I worked in I think most people in the UK at some point in their life have worked in insurance or the financial services industry. I'm probably fall into the latter part of, I'm not a very corporate person. I'm a very much an individualistic person. So I actually see the appeal of being a CEO. Because I would not be your traditional CEO. I'm what I would term as a disruptor. And I think anyone who's ever worked with me would know that. Do you consider yourself as a disruptor, Peter?
Yeah, I think as a business, we certainly are aiming to do that. The classic thing about selling enterprise software, which is what we do, is that you come against an incredibly dull, static status quo of the way things have been done. And typically that involves way too many people involved in the negotiation to sign a software deal. Far too much. Look, compliance is necessary, but to a degree that it's done in this space is far too extreme. Then, as I said, all of this consequences that people end up with too many people involved, with too much of a lengthy process of buying software. Inherently, that causes the software itself to be far more expensive than it should be. And I just feel that, to your point about being a disruptor, absolutely, this space is ripe for that. Decisions need to be made faster. Implementation of tech change needs to be better and quicker. And the end of the day, the solution needs to be more creative and innovative and better. So yes, we're trying to disrupt the space for sure.
Are there any like past experiences that you've had that have really influenced like how you approach like building and scaling, especially a company like yours?
Yeah, for us, the truth about, I think you could pick any industry on the planet, but the truth is you have people within that sector who are doers, who are entrepreneurs, who want to get things done. And we appeal to those people within our industry because there's so much opportunity to grow. in this space, particularly the specialty insurance world. It's a market that grows double digits every year, that has loads of new entrants all around the world. And people are desperate to find technology that will help them achieve that growth in the right way. So I think that the motivation for us stems from that. We want to help great entrepreneurs, whether that's within companies or whether doing their own business, to achieve those goals that they have. So that's what motivates us. And we've seen that firsthand with some of the experiences we've had going out and trying to grow the businesses we've worked at.
And like, what is the fundamental problem that you are trying to solve, especially like within the insurance ecosystem?
Yeah, two big things. So launching an insurance product digitally has traditionally been really slow, really arduous, really complicated. With Loro, we took inspiration from other great tech successes in other verticals, things like Shopify, things like the CRM world, where people simply log in, click and build and go, and try to bring that to the insurance space. So with Loro, you can set up pretty much any insurance product in a few days to sell digitally. The other big thing we solve that hasn't been done well in the space is insurance, particularly in the area we operate in, is not sold to the average man on the street. It's sold via a chain of intermediaries or advisors or brokers, as they're called. So digital experience has to transcend across multiple layers of interaction. And a lot of software has failed in that. It's been very good at serving the B2C space. It hasn't been as adaptable to serve the B2B to potentially infinite B2C channels that the industry needs. And that's where, again, where we solve that quite unique problem within our world. Yeah.
Are there any like big misconceptions that people might have, particularly in regards to like innovation in insurance?
Yeah, I think there is a misconception that it doesn't happen. Whereas actually I do have some empathy and sympathy for the larger groups within the world of insurance, because the reason they have such amazing businesses and market shares is because of all the amazing innovation they've done in the past. And actually, even if you look at the last 15, 20 years of insurance, when I've really been in the market, it's transformed massively. We had huge market cycles with the likes of terrorism insurance that came in after 9/11. You've had what everyone in the world is aware of, the mounting kind of cyber risk and exposure that the insurance industry has created an innovative and creative solution for. And there's loads of examples of new products even in the last few years coming to market. So we work with insurers directly who are bringing things like fertility insurance to the space, who are bringing some kind of renter's guarantee product to help people, help give people access to housing that haven't been able to do that in the past. So insurance can play a really valuable, creative and innovative role in society. And there's people who want to do that. It's not just home and auto insurance, right?
I mean, like, how does the technology like enable like better underwriting, like better customer experience, better risk management, etc.?
Yeah, insurance is quite similar to most of the financial services sector. It depends on good quality data. And as much as you can have a philosophy and an attitude to anything, if you don't have good quality underlying structured data, it's very hard to make informed decisions and evolve your appetite in the underwriting space. So fundamentally what Loro does is it gives you everything you're getting from all of those brokers we discussed, all of your customers, in a structured format to then feed back into your underwriting logic and make informed, sensible decisions that can help shape your business. So the big part that we focus on is not just that being a singular static target, but something that evolves and can change as your need for information grows, right? So again, we've never had more access as a human race to information than we've had today. So why not open the number of avenues and sources you're getting that information from to make a decision on underwriting?
So like when you meet like traditional insurance companies, players, stakeholders, like are they reluctant to adopt modern technology, or actually on the converse, they actually are really excited about adopting modern technology?
Yeah, I think in honesty, it's probably a combination of both. There's fear, and that stems primarily from we're a very regulated industry in insurance. There's lots of rules and requirements, particularly about personal data. There's also quite a lot of moving legislation coming in around the use of AI, and insurance is very aware of that. But then, as I said, there's that's the kind of push, and then you've got the pull of we're desperate for better actionable insights into risks to making more profitable decisions about underwriting approach. So yeah, it's really a pull and a shove, pull and a push type situation going on in the industry, which is probably not uncommon to most spaces of technological change.
You mentioned like regulation and compliance there. Like, do you find that regulation and compliance can actually have a big restrictor on innovation, or are you quite happy with the level of like requirements that you need to adhere to?
Yeah, look, I think I speak quite openly on this, that as a tech company servicing that space, we have so many hoops to go through, right? We're going through our SOC 2 Type 2 audit as we speak. The amount of procedures and policies you have to have in place, a lot of them do make sense, but it's quite laborious and in terms of the process. The other big legislation that I've never agreed with in insurance, the way it's written, is GDPR. For me, this use of data and how we protect consumers, it just hasn't delivered the result that I think people want. I don't know about you, Barry, but I get more spam, more outreach, more notifications than ever. I don't feel protected by this legislation.
I agree with you perfectly. I agree with you. The amount of calls that I get, the amount of stuff that I get, I think those who want to follow it will follow it, and then those who don't just seem to not follow it, in my opinion. Could be controversial to say that, but
yeah, I agree. So I think there's two big areas that I would divide. One is absolutely, I think, is software infrastructure. You should have top level security around that. You should use best in class infrastructure to depend on to protect yourself. I agree with all of that. I think that's all very logical. Then the human additional legislation that comes in on top of that tries to steer companies into good behavior, I think needs an overview and a deep dive drastically.
I think there are always unintended consequences with new regulations. Sometimes the spirit is good, but actually the implication isn't quite where we need it to be. Totally agree with you on that.
And like, how can you, sorry, last point on regulation, but how can you regulate something that's moving as fast as AI? If it takes you months, years to legislate, to go through the procedure, and the technology is completely different from when you started.
I think it's one of those things, the inefficiency, the speed. I'm not a big fan of anyone who watches this channel. I'm not a big fan of bureaucracy. And I find that is very stifling. And I think like a lot of people have this good will, good meaning behind, good implications that they want to bring about. But actually, sometimes they do more harm than good, in my opinion. Maybe you'll agree with me, Pierre. I'm not sure. We'll see. Anyway, going on to the next question. So you mentioned a little bit about AI earlier on in the podcast. Like what insurance trends excite you right now most, especially in relation to AI?
For me, insurance is one of these sectors that has a lot of easy wins with AI. You don't have to revolutionize the industry from one day to the next, but you can do so many things to help speed up efficiency. So front and center of what we've released as Loro is the ability to ingest unstructured documents and data. The amount of rekeying in our space with all of those parties that we spoke about, the policyholder, the retail broker, the wholesale broker, the insurer, the reinsurer, everyone typing in this data into various systems is just, quite frankly, farcical. So AI can make a huge difference there. Then there's more exciting, I would say, perhaps more creative uses of AI that can come into it. And again, I think a lot of that falls down to the data analytics and insight. So the fact that if you have, number one, your data in a structured way, which you spoke about, is fundamental. A lot of people need to get that piece right first. You can then do some incredible smart insights into that, feed the type of model that real time learns and evolves the type of risks you should be looking at and why. If you include that with real time external sources, even if we look at, say, political violence as an insurance product, and we think about things like X and real time on the ground insight of what situations are happening in some conflicted regions, you get the type of underwriting analysis, pricing methodology, definitions of wordings to combat exactly the risk on the ground that you just can't get from a slower traditional process of building actuarial rules and putting them out into the world. So that for me is where the real innovation can happen in the space. Yeah.
And like as an entrepreneur, like how do you decide like where to focus your attention, especially when it's a complex, like regulated industry?
There's there's a lot to be done for sure, and you can only achieve so much, especially when you're a pretty small startup like ourselves, swimming with some huge behemoths of software competitors. So again, for us, it was focusing on a very specific area of insurance. Well, the specialty in the US was termed the E&S market, where there is more flexibility, more creativity about the type of products coming to market. And the other thing we focus on particularly is the broker distribution element of that. I think the consumer part of insurance has kind of been butchered, would maybe be the wrong word, but the amount of competition, aggregation, lack of what seems to me from a consumer perspective choice in that space means that innovation is very restricted. Whereas on the specialty higher end commercial side, there's still so much space to focus on from a tech perspective.
If you look ahead, let's say 5, 10 years, like where do you see Loro and where do you see the insurance industry heading as a whole?
I see the industry continuing to grow in our space a lot, and that's because of these emerging risks that we spoke about. I mean, the growth of cyber as an insurance product, there's no reason to think that can be a sizable percentage of actual asset insurance. So the types of property, equipment insurance that it is today, just because of the way society is going and how our economies work. So there's huge growth in the sector. That's one area, but there's examples of that across the board. From our achievement perspective and our target perspective, we want to be one of these verticals, one of these examples of SaaS that I spoke about in other verticals, where people can come to a platform like Loro, they can log in, they can get an incredible user experience to onboard an insurance product, complicated insurance product, very quickly, and that it can help them sell, reach more customers, grow their premium sustainably without the addition of more staff. There's a big hiring issue in the sector. We haven't spoken about that, but insurance companies, both in the UK and in the US, struggle to get young talent into this sector. And there's a place for technology to really come in there and kind of fill that gap. So massive opportunities, Barry, in summary, to what we see in the next 10 years. And the key is what you said. We focus on where we can make a difference.
Really interesting what you said about attracting young people into the talent pool. Like, why do you think there is such a challenge in recruiting young people into that group?
It's probably a nuanced question. I think, we joke about it, but from the outside, insurance is probably not an attractive industry for people to go into. I would point to my experience in it and say, give it a go, because you can have an amazing career. There's probably on the surface more attractive things for younger people to get into, right? I mean, we don't need to go into it, but all these other careers that exist today that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. The other big problem I think insurance has, even within the financial services space, is it's always been a younger brother to investment banking, a kind of more glamorous, perhaps high earning potential part of the sector. So again, I would encourage people to explore some of these roles that do exist within the niche of insurance, because there are some very attractive financial packages that go alongside these roles as well.
So let's say someone's watching this and they're interested in what you're saying and they're excited by what you're saying, and why wouldn't they be? Like, what would be the first step in thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do to get on board with Loro? And what would be the first steps in integrating your solutions into their existing environment?
Yeah. So here in the UK, we want to make a big impact to hiring young talent. So one of the things we're we're working on and we'll commit to next year is hiring one young person into Loro every year for the next 3 years. And we want you, so come reach out to us if you've got an interest in kind of modern tech platform startup life that's challenging one of the biggest sectors in the world. Come speak to us. And then the other thing I would encourage young people outside of Loro to do is to research a little bit about some of these larger players in the market. A lot of them are doing more things like internships and traditional kind of apprenticeship type roles that are a fantastic way to get into an industry without even the need to go to a university degree to do that. Maybe you try that first and then you go to university, right? And then you start earning without loads and loads of debt, which is also perhaps advantageous.
Yeah, it's a nice position to be in, right?
Yeah.
And what about companies? If companies are interested in acquiring your services, like how would they go about it and how would they integrate into your solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I should have explained this at the start. So Loro we're a US company, got a UK subsidiary, got an office space in Lloyd's of London, the home of specialty insurance. We are well connected in the market. You can reach out to us directly from our website, loro.io. We would love to meet you, to speak to you. The most amazing thing about our platform is it's completely free to get started. You can just sign up and go with us. We want to take away all these barriers to trying technology that everyone else puts up behind hundreds of thousands of dollars of costs and months of time. And let's have an honest conversation. We're pretty realistic here at Loro. If we can help you, we'll say that, and if we can't, we will admit that as well. So let's talk.
We love that honesty. So there you go, guys. The information is there and it'll also be included in the link at the bottom as well if you want any further information. We are coming towards the end, unfortunately, Peter. But I always have one question that I ask, the same question every time. What advice would you give to young, maybe even old entrepreneurs who are starting for the first time? What were the steps that you mistook, and what suggestions would you recommend they take to avoid making those same mistakes?
Number one, I would say is speak to some people who've done it. It's easy with LinkedIn these days to reach out to people in the space you're in who are current entrepreneurs. I'm sure there's nuance to every single type of journey people go on with building a business. For us, there would have been some very practical lessons to learn about things like fundraising and how to form a company and all the basics that you just have no idea about when you're living in corporate life luxury. The biggest thing for me is you can walk before you run. You don't have to try something to turn your whole life upside down and commit to something. Get some surveys out, do some market testing, launch a proof of concept that you pay for in your part-time, get some engineers to work with you, commit a little bit before you go all in. And the moment you see that opportunity where you think, oh, this idea really has legs in it, then go for it. Absolutely.
Amazing advice. Peter, look, I just want to thank you again for talking with us today. It has been an absolute delight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Barry. Thanks very much.
That was Peter Tilbrook, CEO at Loro.